Mr. Posey, gentleman from Florida, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. Thank the witnesses for your input. Very informative. To the chagrin of some, I guess, I don't work for the United Nations. I don't work for the EU. I don't work for any other government except the United States of America. And I don't think that my constituents should be governed or regulated by any of the governments either. It seems like every international agreement we make of any kind, we're left holding the bag. And oftentimes, as I think Congressman Pierce was alluding to in his discussion, there's predetermined outcomes already before we even start negotiating, before or after the document's signed, that are not beneficial to us. We deal with other governments where it's considered ethical to lie if you can harm America. We're supposedly under the impression that you're not supposed to lie to anybody for any reason. So, you know, I think that this would be another case where we will get the short end of the stick. Mr. Torty, the United States has a very long-held and proven tradition of state-based regulation. It's worked for 150 years. And, you know, you've got a distinguished career of public service as Rhode Island's Banking and Insurance Commissioner. We're all aware of that, and you are recognized as a national leader on insurance regulation. So I might ask you if you can explain to members of the committee how the state system of insurance has evolved, how it's adapted to remain effective over time, and comment on the steps that have been taken to address the concerns that resulted from the financial crisis.
Thank you, Congressman, and I will try to the best of my ability to do that. It would take a lot longer than the few minutes we have left, but I will concentrate on the one area that I think is important here. But I will clarify again that I no longer represent the regulators or the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. I am trying to...
Yeah, you're running out of time. Get to answering the question.
Okay, I'm trying to describe a process, and I will. We have significantly strengthened, as regulators, state regulators have significantly strengthened group solvency requirements. We do still have a legal entity type of a regulatory process. However, there are all kinds of new holding company requirements in place. There's a Form F, it's called, in the holding company statute, the model statute, that is required for accreditation, that requires an enterprise risk management report be filed with your regulator. There is what's called an ORSA, an own risk and solvency assessment, that asks the industry participants to disclose all of the risks that they're subject to, enterprise-wide, not just legal entity. There are supervisory colleges that we hold for internationally active insurance groups and other insurance groups, where all of the regulators from the various countries that the companies are doing business in get together to discuss legal entity and group-wide risks that are being faced by those companies. So there is much in place now to fill the perceived void that may have been out there prior, that we did not look outside the legal entity to regulate insurance. That is not the case. There has been a lot done over the last few years, and even prior to that, we had group solvency issues working groups, and we had groups to modernize insurance regulation that were looking at group issues. There's also a group capital calculation.
Let me just interrupt a minute, because we're both running out of time. In Florida, our insurance commissioner, Kevin McCarthy, has a long, strong history of watching out for the consumer first and foremost. He doesn't care if a state senator gets in the way, he'll run over him. He doesn't care if a state representative doesn't like what he's doing. He'll jam horns with the governor if necessary. He does what he thinks is in the best interest of Florida consumers, period, end of subject. I assume you and other commissioners in other states do the same. My concern is a bunch of foreign agreement makers won't share that same loyalty to our consumers. And would you comment? Either of you.
I would be happy to. Yes, I mean, we do have, as an insurance commissioner, I did have a loyalty to those consumers. That was my charge. That is what I did, and I agree with you that, you know, it is possible that the interests of our policyholders, our consumers here in the U.S. won't be appropriately recognized in certain international negotiations or standard setting procedures, I should say.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman's time's expired.